have 5 graduates of the Lincoln High School with us. And they're sitting in front of you in order of graduation year. We have Curtis Thompson first, 1956. We have Lorenzo Grays second, 1959. James Steen, 1960. Fadel Daly, 1964. And Henry Lewis, 1965. And they're going to share some of the history and personal stories of the Lincoln School. It was the only black school in the College Station Independent School District back in the day. As you'll learn, it first opened 25 years before the laws that mandated integration in the public school system. Over the last few months, I've watched them as they've prepared. Oh, yeah. Okay. I've watched them as they've prepared. And I know they've worked really hard to confirm the accuracy of the events amongst each other and resources outside of each other. But I'd like us to keep in mind that more than 8 decades have passed since Lincoln School opened. I think we know from our own lives that memories grow cloudy with passage of time. And we may not fully remember details or people's names or exact years. But it's history, and we need to tell it. And it's the spirit of the story that's most important, more important than the details sometimes. With that, what was most apparent over the last several months of me working with these folks is that they loved their school and their community, no doubt. It got said almost every time I was with them. And I loved hearing about it because I was a local. We moved here in 1961, and Lincoln School was down the road from my house. I rode down that road on my bicycle a lot, which is now Holloman, by the way. It was a country road that was dirt road back in the day. So I loved hearing about it, and I really think you will too. So let's give them a warm welcome. We're going to start with our oldest, with Curtis. And we will save some time at the end for any questions that you may have about the school, about their experiences. And here goes Curtis.
Yes. Good morning, everybody. Good morning. As she's already told you who I am, my name is James Curtis Thompson. What I want you all to get your attention to is what led up to Lincoln. You know, there wasn't no school for blacks in College Station. So what led up to Lincoln was Washington Chapel Baptist Church, St. Matthew's Baptist Church, Bird Pond, if you all know where that is. There was a community out there. And Wellborn. Those were the schools that the blacks went to at that time. And they went to the 8th grade. After the 8th grade, they had to be bused over to Bryant, Kemp High, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Now the building was built in 1941. It had 4 classrooms, and they had an assembly room with a partition in between for the high school kids. There was a home economic room in the front, the principal's office, a restroom on one side on each side of the building for boys and girls. And the high school was built in 1949. that's how the Lincoln first got started from 1941. Next, I want to bring attention to you all about our 1945 football team. It was a pretty good team they had, but all of those guys, it was some brothers on that team. Number 3 and number 5, they spent 30 years in the Army. Number 14 and number 4 there, they worked down at Sugarland, Imperial Sugarland plant. Number 12, he played football with Cresview. He don't have a number on it, or whether even Sting, but he graduated from Lincoln, and he worked at A&M for 30 years. And some of you all know about this man here from down under the principal there. That was Reverend Eugene Garvey. He was the pastor of Washington Chapel Baptist Church for 30 years or more. And that was our old principal there, Mr. Edward Cunningham. He was the first principal we had. Believe me, he didn't spare the rod on you. Next, we have a young lady, well, not a young lady, but she was young at this time. In 1946. She was on her way to Kansas City. And what had happened, she called herself running away from home. And she saw a name up on a bulletin board, said Lincoln. And she got back with Mr. Terror at the school and told him about it, and that's how the name Lincoln came in there. Next we have the school song. And Esteline Wilburn and Audrey Steen were the ones that wrote that song for Lincoln. Esteline finished Prairie View and taught school in Aniwak. And Audrey finished Prairie View also and taught school in Seattle and Los Angeles, California. Then next we have our old football team. Oh, Eleanor next, okay. Eleanor was why did I skip Eleanor?
That's okay. I've got it here.
Okay.
We good? Okay.
You know, Eleanor, she was almost a genius, really, because, I mean, she made straight A's all through high school and college. And she got married, and she and her husband moved to Anchorage, Alaska. And then she moved to St. Louis when she got a job as an air traffic controller. And she was the first black lady to have a position like that in America. Her name, Eleanor George Tolliver. She was active in the Lincoln Farmer Student when she moved. She moved back here and she passed here at College Station. And she was very active with the Lincoln Farmer Students when we used to have our school reunions. We don't have them anymore because there's not very many of us left. And then we have the 1954 football team. That team went 13-2. We played for the state championship over at Tiger Field, old Tiger Field. Now, you know, they built a field over there. I'm talking about the very first one, and it ran east and west. You know, most football fields run north and south. But we played them over there. We played Livingston Dunbar. Livingston Dunbar had won the state before them, and they beat us over there 20-25. But Mr. Daly was our football coach, and he never had a losing season. He came to Lincoln in 1949, and all of his teams won more games than they lost each year. They won the district in 51. And see, the thing about him was, he introduced Lincoln to being in a district. Back during that time, we didn't have no district. We just played anybody we could. But when we got in the district, he was the one that was instrumental in Lincoln getting in the district. And another thing he did for us, if you notice on the picture, the uniforms, yes. Uh-oh, that's me up there, they got me circled. If you notice on the farm, those guys that up at the first and second row up at the top, dressed alike. The coach was the one that bought those uniforms for us. College Station and in Consolidated, they wouldn't buy it. He bought them out of his own pocket. Now, I don't know where he got the money to buy it, but you know, that's what we found out, that he was the one that did that. The other guys at the bottom, that's what we were wearing before those uniforms. And they were hand-me-downs from A&M Consolidated and the Aggies. Oh, and some highlights here. Just want to tell a couple of highlights where we beat Rockdale 118-8 one year. Oh, and we beat dear old Kemp High. Kemp was the school in front, and we played them and beat Kemp. And that was a joy for us to beat Kemp, because they were from Bryant, and you know, we had the rivalry thing going between us, because boys didn't like the boys, and the boys from College Station liked the girls from Bryan, and vice versa. As a matter of fact, I ended up marrying one of them.
And she's cute too. I met her yesterday.
Now, we also had a young man that went to Lincoln, and he put his age up. He was 13 years old. He put his age up and went and joined the Army. His name was Hubert Hawkins. He got captured over in Korea. And when they released him, Mr. Terra, our principal, he turned school out that day, and they flew him in to Easterwood Airport. And all of us went out there to meet him. Back during that time, we had a band. The band went out there, and also the cheerleaders. And that's about all. No more than I mentioned the 50-14 team that we played in Livingston. Oh, and by the way, if anybody want to question that about Lincoln playing for the state, there it is right there.
Amen.
Thank you very much.
Okay, I'm going to give you a visual view of the campus of Lincoln in 1965, which I consider the most important year from 1941 to 1965. I'm not riding with either one of you guys. Okay, here's our gym. This facility right here. It has the boys and girls physical education classes that were taught by one teacher. One teacher. He taught the girls and the boys PE, or physical education. Now, some of you, I'm using the word physical education, as you know, they have changed the name from physical education to kinesiology. Okay, now, number 2 here, this is the last building that was built on that campus. Now, that building house, right now, is Lincoln Recreation Center. Okay, that building house, it was assembly room, band hall, and it had 2 classrooms. Now, the classroom was used for I was taught geometry there in that room, and I was taught geometry, government by the same teacher at dual preparation. And number 3 is the elementary school, our building, the elementary building. Okay? As Mr. Thompson has already said, that was the first building on this particular campus. There wasn't any other infrastructure on that particular piece of property. And since I mentioned the word property, let me just back up for a moment. I apologize to you that I didn't lead off with this information. A&M Consolidated School District purchased this property here, all of this property here, for $500. For $500 for 5 acres in 1941 to build a segregated black school. Number 4 here is the high school building. That's the high school building. Okay, now, the classroom of this high school building, you enter from the inside. You enter from the inside. The elementary building here, you would enter from the outside on both sides. Number 5 is the science building. Our science teachers, this is 1965, I want to emphasize that. The science teacher taught science and algebra. Now, the algebra, I learned later on in my life that it was introductory to algebra. It wasn't algebra 1, algebra 2, algebra 3, none of those like we have nowadays. Okay. Number 5, just discuss number 5. Number 6 is the, we call it shop during those days, the industrial education. That's shop. Yeah. Number 7 is our homemaking building. Number 8 was our cafeteria. And number 9, this little building right here, that's snack bar. That snack bar, we sold ice cream, candy, chips out of it for this purpose, to make a profit for the junior, senior prom. Sometimes the boys would go out there and beg the guy that was selling the ice cream for ice cream, and we didn't make too much of a profit. Okay? And I want to point this out to you. This, the figure here, this is a softball, baseball field combination. In this area right here, Kurt, I believe Kurt can sort of testify during his time, is where we practice football. Yeah. That's where we practice football. And let me tell you something. I don't know what you call those things. I'm a country boy, and I still don't know what you call them. We call them bull nets. They were stickers. Oh, yeah.
Plenty of them out there.
Plenty of them out there. They made us pretty tough. Thank you for your attention. In 1965, well, I tell you what, I'm going to tell you that because I'm going to be the last one to talk about the class of 1965, which was the last class of Lincoln School. And I'm going to tell you how many students we had in that class.
Question and answer time here.
I'm not going to tell you now. You'll take away from some of my talk. Oh, okay. If I do it now, I'll come up again.
Good evening. My name is Lorenzo Grace, and we're here today to talk about the legacy of Charles Banks.
Right up to your mouth.
You can't hear me?
There you go.
I'm here today to share my nephew Charles Banks' legacy. We all call him Banks. He was born in Wellborn, Texas, and attended Lincoln High School. He graduated in 1960. He played basketball and football. In 1960, the team won the state high school championship. Banks was known for his quickness, his athleticism, ball handling, discipline, hustle, and hard work. You can't hear me? Oh yeah, okay. talking into my bad ear. Okay. During his high school years, Banks would spend his summers in Houston, where he had family. So when we was putting this together, I had to include Bobby Hill, who was played at Kemp High in Bryant. So they was competitors. Lincoln and Kemp High was competitors in high school, the high school level. So Banks had family in Houston, and so did Bobby Hill. So their friendship from the basketball court to Houston, and this is where they was honing their basketball skills. And after, it was a park called Herman Park, and Mr. Thompson said that name of that park was Emancipation Park, and this is where they played. So after that, they went to Wharton Junior College. And at Wharton Junior College, Coach Benson So after we contacted Wharton Junior College to see what kind of news clippings or what kind of memorability they had for Banks at Wharton. So Coach Benson sent these jerseys, and these are clippings from the game. These are the actual jerseys that Charles Banks and Bobby Joe Hill wore, because when they got to Wharton Junior College, it was a losing school for its win and loss records. So they put Wharton on the map, and he sent me all of this information in this book right here about these two athletes. So Banks and they was joined at the hip for us in athletic. Banks went to Texas Western, and Bobby went to Texas Western. So at Texas Western, they won championships and went on to the national championship in New York City. Okay, now give him your own, that one right there. Okay, now this was the one right here. So this is Charles Banks right here. So if anybody knows anything, about the Harlem Globetrotters, you'll know that this is Meadow Like Lemon and this is Curly. So when we got this picture here, it was in the Houston Chronicle. And if you can look in the background during that time when these performers would come to Houston, they would let the colored schools out and all of these kids right here, okay? So my thing about this right here is that knowing Banks, that how did he make this connection? You know? So seemed like to me it would have to be somebody who was very aggressive in they trying to get where they, that's just the wrong word, to make contact with at this level. Huh? Yeah. And he used to say all the time, in which I didn't understand what he was saying, because he didn't talk much. If you didn't want to talk about sports, he didn't have too much to say. But he would always say this: the will must be greater than the skill. I didn't understand what he was talking about, you know? So there was a lot of endurance. There was a lot of get up and go to meet people and make this kind of contact. So we'll move on to the state. Now this is Banks at Texas Western College. This is one of the pictures right there that he was working out, one of his workouts. So what he was saying that he would do, that he would go the entire length of the court, dribbling the ball with his eyes closed, backwards and forth, you know. So this is just a picture we got from Texas Western right here. So this is the Madison Square Garden. I'm just going through some stuff, so y'all gonna have to follow me, right? So this is at Madison Square Garden. This is the Empire State Building right here, and this is Banks. So they went, at Texas Western, they went to the NIT 3 times while he was there. It's his basketball. Right here, we got Banks and Hill. This is at Wharton Junior College. But it's just showing that, from my perspective, that Banks and Hill was the most unlikely 2 individuals to do what they did at that particular time. So we're talking about 1960. So that was the height of the civil rights movement. And so for them to sacrifice their time and their lives, actually, and keep going, and then I often was talking to the both of them and just try to see exactly where their mindset was, you know. But this is something that they did, that they liked, that they loved, had to love it, to take all the abuse and everything. So, yeah. So we have, and from here, I don't know, some of you right here would know who Charles Stewart was. So this was one of the letters of intent that was sent to Banks, Oklahoma State University. So over here is the end of his career. This is the state championship at El Paso, when El Paso won the state basketball championship. Yeah, so they had won, this is when Texas Western won the state championship. Huh?
NC2A,
Yes.
not the state. You won NC, they beat Kentucky, the first all-black, I don't want to take that away.
Yeah. George Benson, he chose to start 5 black players against Kentucky. And if you look right here, you'll see this is the coach of Kentucky, in which his name is on the Rupp, yes. So, Banks's career and his journey was, when I think about it, because most people probably didn't even know actually who Charles Banks was, not really no more than he played sports. So after that, when he got to this point, his career had ended because he had a knee injury. But he was like a player coach for Coach Benson. Then Banks dropped out of school. He went back and got his degree. He got his degree in 1982. So after he dropped out of school, he spent his time working in Houston and working here. So I say, God bless my nephew.
Lorenzo, could I piggyback off you for a second? Because I want everybody to know where Banks was from. 5 miles south of here, little town called Wellborn, Texas. You can go through it right now. You'll blow through it, no light. Now it has really grown. But that's where he was from, Wellborn, Texas. You know, that just goes to, it's what I tell a lot of young folk. It's not where you're from, it's where you're going. Thank you.
Farmer students went over. I was the president of the Lincoln Farmer students for about 15 years. I'm not going to look at that here. But there it is right there. And it was in '85, and that was the 75th anniversary. Wow. We had 10 players on our team, and also we had one supporting staff. We tend to, I probably need to do this because that's my brother-in-law. We tend to forget those that helped us get to where we are. Yeah. And my brother-in-law was the trainer of that team. And what else? So I'm gonna make it short. That's good enough. I think y'all get the essential point of it. Okay. So if you have any, oh yes, this is when we were won the state. This is what they give you. And then now they give you rings and big things. But I'm proud of this. This is what they gave us. College Station, the school down here, Cougars. College Station Cougars, and what year was that? 2020. They honored us down at the Cougars, and we went out on the floor. It was 4 of us that came back. Wow. And we went out on the floor, and that was a great thing because we thought that Consol should have honored us, but you know, we don't care. It was the Cougars that honored us that night, and we really did enjoy it. It was 4 of us were able to make it. One of our best players is in the nursing home in Fort Worth, Floyd Clark. But the rest of us are, the rest of the 5 are still living. All starters, the starting 5 got letters of intent that year. So we did what we wanted to do. Whether we accepted that or went on some other direction, we did what we wanted to do. Yeah. And I'm proud of where I came from. And so, because it was a happy day. We were not angry at anybody. We did what we had to do, and now we're enjoying the fruit of our harvest.
Good evening. I am Faydale Jones Daly. I don't have any sports to tell you. I just want to tell you, enlighten you about my days at Lincoln School, my journey. It began on December the 8th, 1954. As a 3rd grader, I was 7 years old, 3 days before my 8th birthday, December 11th, 1954. My parents were teenagers. For those means, I was reared by my grandparents, Mr. Thomas Allen and Miss Ozana Allen of Welcome. They were very loving and caring grandparents, firm and strict, yes. I was happy and glad to be enrolled at Lincoln School. Academically, I was an A student all through school days at Lincoln. This school was a very close-knit one, full of love, family-oriented. The teachers instilled in us their focus were for you to exceed and to be the best among the best. Did not have the finances as some others had, but my grandparents always provided me with love the audience today. And she was one of the last on, but her memories last on. Still linger on. Lorraine was one, like I said, of Lucille's sister. Eleanor Columbus Graves, I don't know if there's anybody here, but she was one of her sisters. Last but not least, yours truly, Lady Town today. And it was an honor. I was crowned as Miss Lincoln on that night. It was held at the old Tiger Field, as I said before, and it was held on a Thursday night, because we had to have a game on Thursday night. It was, I think, November 3rd of 1963, and I was crowned Miss Lincoln. It was an honor and a happy moment for me that I will forever cherish. There were some special teachers and faculty that had the urge and desire for me to further my schooling after high school graduation, but it was not so. My graduation day was Monday night, May 25th, 1964, in the Lincoln School Gymnasium, which is still there now. After high school graduation, I had my family, a blessed one. 2 full-time jobs. Was assistant custodial leader for the College Station School District at South Knoll Elementary School. I was there for 11 years. And then I further, TAMU, Texas A&M Poetry Science Department, a lab technician assistant for 30 years. I retired August 31st, 2009. Last but not least, I will forever be thankful to God, my family, Lincoln teachers, and others for standing with and by me as I reach my accomplishments and goals. All the precious memories that has been instilled in me a lifetime once. A school motto was, forward forever, backwards never. And I put that in my voice. Sometimes I get feel a little down. I think about that motto. So just remember that. Forward forever, backwards never.
All right.
Faye Dale Jones Staley, January 15, 2025.
I told you I was gonna come back again. And I'm gonna give you that information that you just asked for. I don't really need it, Mike. The class of 1965 started in 1953. We were a very close-knit class. We are now as old folk. Stand up, my man. Raise your hand. Raise your hand. This is one of my classmates, 1965, right here. We fuss and we argue, but we still love each other. Okay? I'm gonna just sort of talk about something that, as I got older and smarter, by the way, these girls, actually was the one that got us through school, high school, because they did that work, and we copied off of them. They were, as Phil said a few minutes ago, he was a straight A student, could have gone to any university or college, but our parents didn't have the money to support him. We did not have a school at Lincoln. Therefore, we had no means to get information about financial aid. I don't know if A&M Consolidated had a council or not. Most likely they did, but they did not share it with Lincoln. And we did not, as a school, invite universities to send a financial director to our campus to give us that information. So all of these young ladies, especially the young ladies, could have gone to college if they had the money. Let me say this here, I'm gonna say this right up front. Some people don't like for me to say it, but I don't care now. At 79, why should I care? We all were poor. Yeah. We all were poor. So therefore, a lot of them, when they got out of high school, they went to the workforce and worked. They could have gone to any university. They just didn't have the money. They didn't know how to get money. The parents didn't know. Now, I said I wasn't going to say anything. I told Paul. I went to college. I graduated. I have a BS degree and an MED degree. I have 5 certifications. I taught school for 47 years. At different levels, public school, GED, and in the Wild Youth Program at A&M. I'm fortunate because I found out about the financial aid after I had flunked out my freshman year. I lost an eye, right eye, at age 13. When we graduated from high school, I wanted to go to the military on a budget plan. But I couldn't go. The lady told me that when I go, she'll be going. They weren't accepting women during that time. So I hunted down the lady that visited me in the hospital and used to bring me books to read. I hunted her down because she said, when you finish high school, come see me. And she gave me a course address where she had a business as you enter. It was some type of car alignment business. And I went to her, and then of course, she got money for me under the Rehabilitation Act. Wow. And being stupid like I was, I didn't go to college to go to class. I went to play, have fun. And I got my kids joined up and made. I dropped out. I don't like using that word dropped out. I flunked out. And I went to Lincoln and worked as an assemblyman there for 2 years. Now, I was also married with a little girl. My wife had finished consolidated in 1968. So she had graduated, and I went home and I told her, I said, I'm going back to college. And I'm going with you. If you go with me, I can act right. And we both can get a loan. And I get a part-time job. And we both can go and make it. Yeah, that's what happened. It happened. She just decided to do something different. I think I was just too pushy. Because I really wanted to make it at that time. But my main emphasis is about the class of 1965. There were 18 of us. 18. And I think I mentioned a few minutes ago about how we grew up together and how close we are. You can understand that. Because every class we attended was self-contained. First grade, we was together. Second grade, we all together. We did not have AP, 3 AP classes, gifted and talented classes. We all was in the same classroom all day long under the same teacher. All the way through 8th grade, and then when we got to high school, it was basically the same thing. We went from history to math to English together. That was really self-contained. So that's the reason I can come to Martha and tell Martha, hey, Martha, I'm hungry. She'll find something for me to eat. Okay? All right. So, I said there was 18 of us that graduated. There were 13 boys and 5 girls. Thank you. This was the next page here. That was during the Vietnam War, wasn't it? 8 of those guys went volunteer for the military. Now I'm tying all of this up with growing up at Lincoln School that taught us courage, character, patriotism, pride. We didn't have everything in Lincoln School, and I keep saying Lincoln School, not Lincoln High, because we were located on one campus, on one piece of ground. So it had to be Lincoln School, not just Lincoln High. Okay? These guys went to the military, Army and Air Force. Three of them spent 20 years. One of them spent 9 years. He received a Purple Heart and a Brown Star. His name was John Ray Watson. Yes, Watson. He was the brother to Ennis Watson that went ahead and consolidated, and he was 6'9". And he still holds I think he still holds the most points scored at that particular school during that time. It went from 1966 to 1968. And most of them went to the Army and the Air Force. I think Army was 2 years. He had to spend at least 2 years. Air Force, he had to spend at least 4 years. Every last one of them lived in themselves. 5 of them has passed on. They passed on. Well, actually, the military got only 3 have passed on, and 2 of the military guys passed on also. Father said to me that my time is up. And I am not looking at her. But I know she's saying that, doing that. But I want to thank everybody for listening to us, and I hope that we have shared some information with you about the participating black school here in College Station. That's about 1.25 miles north of here. Thank you. All right.